Hello and welcome to AppShock Online. Today, I'm very excited about our guest, John Canada, co-founder of Burn It, Build It Fitness. So a little bit about John before we get into our conversation today. John's been in the fitness business for over 20 years, been a GM of some of the biggest health clubs out there, LA Fitness, a local company here, Pure Fitness, moved over to Washington, had ownership in a health club that they ended up selling, came down here, and now he's in a completely different part of the fitness business. So John, welcome.
Thanks, Josh. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So first off, before we get into the fitness stuff, how do you like here rather than Washington?
Oh man, it's not even close. It's when I first went to Washington. I was raised here, so
Yeah.
when I went to Washington, it was new and exciting for the first year or so. Yeah, every time you step out of the door, there's new places to explore, new places to eat, and it was pretty cool. By about year 3, it was the weather, the clouds, the constant sprinkling. It was getting to me a little bit, so we decided to start to think about getting back to Arizona. So by about year 5, that was it, and we sold our business and moved back to Arizona.
That's great. Yeah, and I'm sure you love it here.
I do. I was born in New York, but raised here essentially. So my friends are here, my family's here. Love it.
Oh, that's great. Now, you've been in the fitness business a long time. Let's kind of go back to kind of 20 years ago. How did you get into the fitness business? And then I want to talk about how marketing was back then.
Well, all right. So the way I got into the business, I was I was 20 or 21 years old, and I had been selling health systems of waterless, greaseless cookware. I was doing in-home presentations. So essentially, you got your leads by going to working bridal shows and things where like young couples just getting started. That was kind of your target. So you'd go work the home shows and the bridal shows and get your leads, and then you'd call them up and book the appointments when both parties were going to be there, and then I'd literally lug this giant suitcase full of stuff to an in-home presentation and I'd do a 45-minute long presentation on cookware, and then it was about $3,000 or $4,000 financed at 25% over 5 years. It was awful. So I was going broke doing that and didn't know anything. So back then, I found the job in the classified section of the newspaper, and it was I remember the ad. It said, "Looking for young, fit, healthy people. Call Charlie. 995-1234 was the phone number. I still remember it, and it was La Mancha Racket Club, which was eventually bought out by LA Fitness, but it was over on 23rd Avenue. And I went in there and I met Charlie, and he said, "Well, you look like you work out. Can you sell?" I said, "Well, sure, I can sell. I can sell anything." I was lying. I didn't know what I was doing, but he gave me the job, and it stuck. And so I started off as an entry-level employee, just giving tours to the health clubs and signing people up for membership.
Awesome. Now, what was it about the fitness business that you liked? Why did you enjoy that?
Well, initially it was, I made more money than selling the cookware.
It's a good start.
And I was a 21-year-old guy who liked to work out, so I got a free membership. I made a little bit of money, and I'm in an environment where I'm surrounded by pretty women, and I was what better job is there for a 21-year-old guy? So that's why I liked about it initially. And then I started to see the financial rewards that went along with being good at it. So I did it for those reasons initially, and then as I got older and started to understand the business a little bit more, it was more about having impact on the members, and it became more about the relationships with the members, and then with leading a team of people and accomplishing a goal. That was what appealed to me later on, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember when I met you the first time, you were running the Thunderbird Pure Fitness, and they had just recruited you from LA Fitness, if I remember correctly.
Well, there was a gap. I'd gotten out of the business briefly for a few years and was doing other things, and I got a call from the one of the gentlemen that owned Pure Fitness. I think we had a mutual friend, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I know you're not doing anything. You know, why don't you come back and work for us?" And I was dead set against it at that time, and but I didn't even have anything else going, so I took the meeting, and that was how I met Eric.
Eric, yep.
And got back into the fitness business.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember because I used to do all the lead box stuff for Pure Fitness back in that time, a lot of the outside marketing. And when I came into the club, there used to be a previous GM, and you know, seemed like a nice enough guy, but you could tell his employees were always just a little settled. The members didn't really engage with them. And what I noticed immediately is when I met you, that not only were your employees, like they were in your office, you guys were planning on different things, but you were engaging with all the members, and it was different. I mean, at that time there was 11 or 10 locations, and you were one of the few GMs that really had that dynamic going on. What was it that had you out on the floor engaging with customers? Is that something that's differentiated yourself?
Well, I was, if we back up just a second, when I took that initial meeting with Pure Fitness, I thought I knew everything about the fitness industry because at that point I'd already been in it for over a decade and had been pretty successful at it. And when I met him, he described a completely different way of doing it that really. I told him years later, I said, well, I either thought that you're completely full of garbage and a liar, or this is a completely different way of working the fitness business. And so I just kind of had to take a leap of faith, and I jumped in, and the way they thought about and did fitness and ran a fitness company was completely different. So I had to learn a different way of doing it. And so when I got to Pure Fitness, as far as the member engagement, it was all about working your club from the inside out. And so it was, the highest quality lead is inside the house. It's the people that are already happy with your business. So we really focused on developing those relationships and interacting with the members, and we just gave away free workouts. I just walk up to people and say, "Hey, can I show you something? And would you like to? What are your fitness goals? What are you trying to work on? And would you mind if I, spent 20 minutes with you and took you through a workout?" And that's how we started to rebuild the trust in that club and develop relationships with the members. And I was the leader of the staff, and so they had to follow suit.
Yeah, and I remember it. If I'm correct, it was one of the more profitable clubs after a short period of time of you being there.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. So you, let's talk about the market. This is about 10 years ago, right? 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you guys marketing yourself back then? We'll talk about how it changed, but back then, what were the plays?
Oh my. So it was, something you already mentioned was we had the lead boxes, which is, those were little boxes that were out in restaurants and dry cleaners and the places, we all frequent, and it was, register here for a free 2-week pass.
Yeah, I always went for the guilt places, the McDonald's, the
Absolutely.
Ralbertos, and yeah.
So, if we didn't have somebody like you that was going out setting those up, that was my first day in the fitness industry. They just hand you 20 of these boxes and go get these out.
Yeah.
And that was where you started off, is getting your leads from those lead boxes. In addition to that, it was a lot of guerrilla marketing. So we'd be out, putting flyers out in businesses, putting them on cars, walking up to people in parking lots and handing them a guest pass and introducing yourself and literally just dragging them into the facility to take a tour. We would do, my bread and butter was always what we called the buddy referral. So it's just, at the point of sale, you ask for names and numbers of friends and family that might want to come in and exercise. You get your leads that way. In addition to that, there was, always a lot of print advertising, direct mail, door hangers. Oh, gosh.
TV was a big one for you guys.
TV
then.
was big. We had a corporate program, so we'd be collecting corporate leads and trying to get into big companies and do mass signups. We did the TV.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was very guerrilla marketing, but you guys used a lot of what we would maybe consider now old media, like the newspapers and
Yeah.
but buying TV. I mean, that was great. I remember you guys had some pretty in your face ads back then that drove a lot of calls and yeah. So
Did
now,
you ever see the cartoon?
I don't think I did.
I think it's available on YouTube if you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look up the Pure Fitness cartoon. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So Pure Fitness ended up selling, and you got out of the fitness business for a short period of time. And what made you decide to go up to Washington?
Well, when Pure Fitness sold, I was essentially unemployed and didn't know really what I was going to do. There wasn't any other fitness company that I was really excited about going to work for. And so shortly thereafter, Eric, who was one of the owners of Pure Fitness, approached me and asked me if I'd like to go into business with him and become a partner with him. So once we agreed on that, due to the sale, he wasn't allowed to do business in Arizona for 5 years. There was a non-compete. And so we had to figure out where to go. And he had started his fitness career in the Washington market. So he had been familiar with that market. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us. I had been there one time, I think, over a long weekend for a concert or something several years ago. So that was my experience in Washington. But I was up for whatever. So shortly thereafter, we packed up and headed to Washington.
So you moved to Washington. You started a club there, Emerald City Athletic Club, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's in a small town, Monroe. Let's talk about the parallels of marketing in the Phoenix metro area and Monroe, Washington. What are some things you guys did different to grow that?
Gosh, it was I think there was only maybe 15,000 people in that town if you included the prison population, which accounted for about 2,500 inmates, I think. So it was challenging because you could, when you look at like our old guerrilla methods, you could flyer the whole town in an afternoon. Then what are you going to do the rest of the week?
Right. Fire them again.
Exactly. So we had, we did direct mail there. And so it was maybe a 5x8 full color 2-sided direct mail piece that we sent out. We spent, I don't know, $3,000-$4,000 a month on this thing, and we sent it out every month for years to the same zip codes, there was nobody else, in the fitness business. You're only, you're not any good after about 3 to 5 miles outside of the radius of your club. So we just pounded people with this direct mail piece, and we changed the offer every month, and we tried changing the pictures, and we just pounded it every single month. And I know they saw it when they come in. They didn't ever say, it was rare that they said, "Hey, I got this mailer," but they saw it over and over and over and over again, and we just beat them with it.
Well, and that's something that probably wouldn't have worked in the Phoenix metro area because, you're getting 20 mailers every week. So, but the fact that you guys did that is something a lot of the businesses in that area probably honestly just couldn't afford.
Right.
So that was very smart.
Yeah. We've done it here as well in our in our new business, and we wasted a lot of money, figuring out that didn't work.
Yeah, but that's one of the things in business. Like, you don't always know what's going to work. Sometimes you try something. As our mutual friend Eric, business partner, he always says sometimes you got to throw stuff up against the wall, see what sticks. But you do it with some calculation.
Yeah.
And that's direct mail worked there. So
Yeah.
let's try it here. It doesn't work, you move to something else.
Yeah.
So Monroe, you had 12,000 essentially 500 people that are potential gym members. If I remember correctly, you had a pretty high percentage of those were actual members.
We had, I think, 3,600 members of the 12,000 people that actually live there were members of the club. So
It's like a third.
right. So we penetrated that market pretty deep when you look at the actual percentage of people in like a big metropolitan area that actually work out and are members of clubs and stuff. It's we did pretty well up there.
Awesome. Were there any changes like from moving there? I know you're now business partner Laura Stratton. Is that where you met Laura?
No, she was actually part of our Pure Fitness family here.
Okay.
She was just she was fairly new to Pure when it sold. So she had only, I think, been with the company maybe 6 or 8 months and been in her leadership position, shorter than that. So I knew her here just from sitting in meetings and kind of seeing her around, but I never actually worked in the same facility as her. So we had to develop our relationship once we got to Washington.
And she's a rock star personal trainer, like developing programs.
She is a 1%er in our industry. I've worked with a lot of people in 20, 25 years in the fitness industry, worked with a lot of trainers, and she is exceptional, and she's the best person I've ever worked with.
Wow. Talk a little bit about what she did then to develop programs in Monroe, and then later on to your business now. We'll get to that.
Well, she ran the personal training department up in Washington, and so essentially, I was responsible for making sure we got everybody signed up, and then she takes that member and converts it to personal training revenue on the backside. And so she developed a team of people in this small town that were just amazing. These aren't, the employment recruiting is different, and
Sure.
you're fishing out of a pretty small pond out there. And she took these people and just turned them into miniature versions of themselves. Now they didn't have the education and the background that she had, but she taught them our system, and they ran it to a T, and it was perfection, which it had to be up there because you just didn't have the amount of shots that you would get in a big club here in a big metropolitan area.
Right.
So every shot, every presentation was critical.
Yeah.
And she managed her people and continuous and just train them until they mastered the system and created that revenue for us.
That's tremendous. And, to fast forward on that story, you guys created an incredible company. Somebody came in and said, hey, we want to buy it. You guys made a mutual decision. You end up selling that company.
Right.
You're unemployed again, essentially.
Yeah.
And you end up coming back down here. How did you get involved with the company that you're part owner in now with Burn It, Build It? And tell me about what kind of company is that? How is that different from the big box business that you came from?
Well, this is a group personal training company, and so we had started noticing the trends. Heck, 8, 9, 10 years ago, as far as what's happening in the studio industry versus the big boxes. So we had started building these smaller studios inside of the big box gym. Did a couple different things. I had created an additional revenue line for us for people who couldn't swing the more expensive one-on-one personal training, but they still like that the group. They like the group dynamic and they liked having the instruction. We could do it in these smaller studios and drive the cost down because we did it in small groups. So it was a great revenue line for us up there. But as we started to watch the industry and where it was going, we started playing around with the programming inside the big box gyms, and then we kind of figured out, we could drop about 30,000 square feet off of this thing, and just take our best members, our personal training clients, and train them in this environment, and not have to deal with the swimming pools and the steam rooms and the saunas and all the things that go on in a big health club. And we could just really kind of shrink the business down, and the margins are better on these small studios with about half the headache and liability.
Which is always good. You can lower liability and increase profitability. It's a good deal.
Absolutely. So once we kind of figure that out, we go, okay, well, if we're not going to be in the big box business, let's build these studios. Let's go. Our non-compete was up at this time, so we were free to come back to Arizona and work in the fitness industry again. So that's how Burn It Build It Fitness came to be. As we started out in our Avondale location and started Burn It Build It Fitness.
Awesome. And I've been out to the Avondale location. I've actually had an opportunity to meet quite a few of your members and some different things we've done. And man, they just rave about you guys. I mean, they rave about what you've been able to do. I see a lot of them coming from CrossFit or Orange Theory or even some of the big box gyms,
Yeah.
and they stay. I mean, what is the differentiator between you and all of those competitors out there?
I think it's a number. I don't think it's just one thing. I think it's kind of a layered effect. One is the programming. The workout itself is it's the most balanced approach to cardiovascular and strength training. It's more balanced than anything out there, and it is more sustainable than anything out there. We don't give you too much cardio. We don't give you more weight than what you can handle. It's a balanced approach. So I think that's the first thing is the workouts are just excellent. And then it's the culture that we've created out there and the family that we've built out in Avondale. It's funny that the environment, everybody is very encouraging, and the members have been together now for, gosh, we're almost 3 years into this thing out there. So it's awesome to see the members encouraging each other, and they bring their friends, they bring their family in, and the results that people get are just phenomenal. Because when you take the workout that's provided, and then you combine it with the nutrition that we offer, which again is a much more balanced approach to eating than what most people find out there. When you combine those two, it's impossible not to get the results that people are looking for.
That's awesome. So you really take the time with each individual to find out what their goals are. You look at the nutrition side, you look at the workouts, what they're able to do, and you basically put them in a program that's custom for them in a group environment.
Correct. And then probably the third component to that is our prehab and recovery that we do. So I've heard from a lot of people if they get banged up, or it's tough when you go from maybe not exercising on a consistent basis to coming into any type of group studio. The workouts they're hard, and so you go from 0 to 60, and you might have some bumps and bruises along the way. And we offer prehab and recovery techniques for the members. So we don't just tell you to work through it or to toughen up or to, we actually sit down with you and teach you how to recover and heal properly.
Which is huge, because then you continue on, you want to continue to get those results, and you're not in pain all the time.
Right.
That's the worst thing about working out. I mean, the initial soreness is going to be there, but being in pain, like your joints and all that stuff, if you can help people alleviate that.
There's nothing more frustrating than trying to get through a workout and having achy joints. And, it's funny because we get a lot of people from other fitness businesses that come in, and they just think their back is, it's okay for their low back to hurt when they're doing certain lifts. And we have to almost re-educate them and go, no, you should not be feeling it in your low back. So let's teach you actually how to do the movement correctly where you don't feel it in the low back. And people are just amazed that, we solve their back, we can solve their back problems just by paying attention and making sure they're doing the movement correctly.
I know Eric's told me several stories about people coming in and squatting and deadlifting with Laura, and they come in, athletes, they know how they're doing it, and then they start doing it. She starts fixing everything, and by the time they're done, they can barely do near the weight that they were trying to do because they're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
But it ends up saving their back, their neck, their shoulders, the whole nine.
Yeah, it's our philosophy is it's okay to take if we step back momentarily in order to take 10 steps forward, we're willing to do that. So that's how all of our coaches are trained. When you talk about our culture, it is we are one company, we have one vision, we all speak one language. So the trainers are consistent from one to the next. One of the things in the maybe different training studios or big box gyms, if you go to one trainer and ask him for his opinion on, okay, well, how do I do this movement, or how should I lose this weight? What's the best diet? And then you ask another trainer 5 minutes later, you'll get two completely different philosophies and takes on how to do things, which seems to be very confusing to the members. So one thing about Burn It, Build It is a consistent message across the board.
That's fantastic. Well, you have 2 locations now, Burn It,
Right.
Build It. The other thing I just want to say is people talk about how fun it is. My brother's gone out and done some video. I've seen some video you guys have done, and it's like
Yeah.
the common theme is, my God, these are so fun.
Yeah.
There was a young lady that was just here that said she's not terribly into fitness, although she looks like she's really into fitness. I'll bet she would really enjoy a workout, and that's something to it. If you can
Yeah.
have fun and work out.
Yeah, we try not to take the fun out of fitness.
Right, exactly.
Got to be fun.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I mean, you guys now have your second location in the Midtown. You have one in Avondale. How can we find out more about Burn It, Build It, and get a free class to come try you out?
I would encourage you to go to the website. It is you can go to burnitbuilditfitness.com or bbfitaz.com, and there you can just click on the free classes tab, and we'll be in touch with you to help get you scheduled for your first free class.
Awesome. And then also on Facebook, both Burn It, Build It Fitness Avondale, Burn It, Build It Fitness Midtown, and Instagram. You guys do a fun job on Instagram showing your classes and your members and stuff. That's BBFit.
bbfitaz, or
BB.
the Instagram, I think, is just bbfit.
Okay. Awesome.
You'll find it.
Very cool. So before we get wrapped up, what are 3 takeaways in having a successful business in the fitness industry? Yes, but just any vertical. Why have you guys been successful?
I think probably the first thing is we sit down and we think about our business, and we put together a strategy. All right, what's actually the goal with this? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the messaging that we're trying to get across? And then once you get that strategy in place, then you just the execution is the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally it sometimes can it feels like a full-time job executing those steps. And then probably the last thing is the great thing about the social media is that if you make a mistake, it's easy to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
If we execute that strategy, and sometimes it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's you have to be willing to go, okay, you know what, that didn't work, and just change gears and think of something new, and again, throw it against the wall, see what sticks.
Right.
But don't be afraid to change the offer or change the messaging and move on from it.
Well, I know you and I have done that along with Eric over the last couple of years. I mean, we've had a lot of great leads come in and success, and but yeah, we're always trying different things, and some have flopped.
Oh yeah,
But some have been like,
yeah,
oh
those
my God.
conversations are, hey Josh, what's going on, man?
Yeah, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. People that get gift cards maybe aren't the best guess that we want. I don't know. But then we go back to things that have worked, or we tweak our audience, and I think that's the thing about business, is always being flexible and figuring out what can be changed to do better. No, this is awesome, man. I highly encourage you guys to check out bbfitaz.com. Burn It, Build It. They're going to change the way fitness is done out here from a nutrition standpoint and from the exercises. Try a free class. Thanks, John, for coming on today. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure, Josh. Thanks.
All right, guys. We'll see you in a couple weeks.